to CN Inside the Studio. I'm Sarah Kittle, editor of the Chaldean News, and with me today is Ron Najor, a Chaldean-American filmmaker who's known for his independent films, and Fred Najor, uncle who funded Ron's first film. In 2011, Najor produced I Am Not a Hipster, a drama directed by Destin Daniel Cretton. As the lead producer, he oversaw production under Uncle Freddy Productions. I Am Not a Hipster received recognition on the festival circuit, contributing to Najor's growing reputation in independent filmmaking. In 2012, Najor served as a producer on Short Term 12, which went on to win both the Grand Jury Prize and the Audience Award at South by Southwest in 2013. And this year, he wrote, directed, and starred in a feature-length film called Adjunct, which premiered this year and was based on his own experiences as an adjunct professor. So I had the pleasure of viewing that film this weekend, and if you're okay with that, that's what we're going to talk about.
Sure.
Okay. Welcome, Ron and Fred, to the studio. Ron is here visiting from San Diego, and we took the opportunity to interview him. So for Adjunct, the main character is a man named Amr Yusuf, a likable man, an emerging author struggling to earn a living in the academic world while simultaneously working on his book. How autobiographical is the film?
I would say, yeah. So I was an adjunct professor for over 15 years on and off while I was pursuing my filmmaking career. So I was an adjunct for a long time. So a lot of the things that happen in the movie definitely happened to me. There are also just an amalgamation of things that I, in my research to try to make the movie, I put into the movie. Other fellow adjuncts and professors that I knew I would interview. And so I would try to make it as authentic and as real as possible. So just sort of taking a lot of things that happened to me, but also things that happened to other people and sort of putting it and helping to craft the story for the movie Adjunct.
Are you as likable as Amr is?
You're gonna have to ask my Uncle Freddy. I feel that's something that someone else would. I appreciate that you feel Amr is likable. I definitely was trying to show a very multi-layered character. But yeah, I hope I am likable.
So you taught at a state university in California. I know that I'm assuming that you did work in the family store. Did you also Uber like Amr? He had 3 different jobs during this.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting, so I should say the impetus for the movie Adjunct happened when you introduced the films that I had made. I made a movie called Short Term 12, and that's an indie movie, and it had these very amazing actors kind of before they became huge. Brie Larson, Rami Malek. It's a movie that went the festival circuit, but also became on over 100 top 10 lists. And after that movie, I started teaching part-time, and I was just trying to make ends meet, and I did do Uber. And I thought to myself, man, wouldn't that be crazy if one of my students who reveres me so much, would see me being an Uber driver? And so that was sort of the spark of the idea of the movie itself. That's why I kind of wanted to write this story and sort of, because I think it's such an interesting, I think sometimes the perception of who you are is not necessarily the reality of what life is giving you in those moments. And so I thought it would be an interesting story to tell.
It absolutely was. I was going to ask, how realistic were the student portrayals in here, and do they really have these expectations of teachers?
I would say the student portrayals are very, for me, again, I'm taking actual things. And I also want to say, as a professor myself, when I went to go make the movie, I went back to San Diego and went to make the movie. And a lot of the students that you see in the movie are actually my former students. So I emailed all my former students and friends and whoever, and a lot of them came and gave their time to help me make my movie, which I thought was very cool. And a lot of the people in the movie are my family and friends, and there's a whole, I'm not sure if we're going to get to this, but there's a whole section of my Middle Eastern family in the movie, and it's actually my true Middle Eastern family that plays my family. And so I love just having my family in the movie and their support and kind of what they did for me. One of my uncles owns a restaurant out there. I know you guys have one here as well, but it's Sahara. And it's he let me shoot there. I talk about the food, and there's just a lot of my cousins and my uncles play a game called Wish Liana on Monday nights, and they always invite me. I don't really play, but they always invite me, and I just think it's like one of the most beautiful things, and I wanted to capture that in the movie because as Amar's trying to struggle and figure out his life, I thought it was so important for him to like be with his family, because that's frankly, like for myself, like even with like my Uncle Freddy, who helped me make my first movie, it's like it's my family who's always gotten my back and who's always helped me, and I wanted to show that in the movie Adjunct.
It is a very realistic portrayal of a family, even where they're like pressuring you about the book. Is that relate to the film? Did you get a lot of questions about the film? Or I know this may be a spoiler alert too, but in the movie, the Amar's publisher tells him to go back to the beginning of his book to start from scratch. Did you ever get that advice?
Well, so to go with what you're saying, so basically, like in the movie, to not make it fully autobiographical, I was like, well, I don't want to make the professor a film professor. I made him an English teacher. And so for him, he was writing these short stories that were doing well, and everybody was like, well, when are you writing a novel? And for me, although I had produced some features, I started directing short films. And so all of my friends and family were like, well, when are you making a feature film? And so for me, it was sort of like my struggle to make that first feature, and it was Amar, the character's struggle to make that novel. And so it was kind of a parallel for the two of us. So as Amar was trying to write his novel, I'm trying to make my feature Adjunct. And so it was this like kind of interesting thing. And it was like there's this really fun scene for me in the movie when Amar comes in and his uncles and cousins are playing Wish Liana, and they're like, when are you gonna finally write your book? And it's just it is a conversation that happens there, but it also happens here with like my Uncle Freddy and my Uncle Eddie and all the family. They're like, when are you gonna make that big movie? And so, and it's not a negative thing. It's a genuine, I think, thing where they're really excited for me and want me to achieve greatness. And so it's like me struggling with, like, can I do it? Can I not do it? So it's like, I don't know. It's like a very interesting sort of situation to be in, because I know it comes from a very loving place, but it also, I think it's showing how Amar is struggling with that whole thing.
The expectations. Do you want to jump in here at all, Fred?
Yes. On that one point, I was actually wanting to kind of cut in anyway. At that point when he was kind of just starting and he was just doing small work, so to speak, short videos, and he was doing some filming and just basically Hollywood work. And we kept, our family kept telling him, Ron, when are you going to make a big feature film, Gone with the Wind or something, So we kept pushing him the first few years, and he was reluctant at first, and my brother and I kept insisting, and well, he finally says, well, I need, I'm a little bit short of, capital and this and that, and so the two of us got together. We said, listen, don't worry about the capital. We got your back. Just go ahead with it. And that's when he made the movie I Am Not a Hipster. That was, I forgot the year.
Well, yeah, no. So that was actually, so we shot that in 2011. And I should just say, so I was literally visiting here in Michigan, and Uncle Freddy was driving me to the airport, and we were having that exact conversation. Yes. And he's like, what do you need to do it? I'm like, I need some capital. He's like, I'll back you up. I'll help you make it. And it was really that impetus that like made me and my buddy Destin, who like Destin wrote and directed the movie. Yes. I was the producer. And it was really my Uncle Freddy like giving us that first bit of money that made us go, we can do this. And it was funny because he didn't know this, but when me and Destin were talking, we're like, well, what do we call our production company? And we ended up calling it Uncle Freddy Productions because it was in honor of my Uncle Freddy, for him being really the first person to believe in us and to like say, hey, I'm going to give you guys a shot. Like, go, let's see what you guys can do. And that movie that we shot half of that movie, I'm Not a Hipster, in mine and me and Destin had an apartment in LA. We shot half the movie in the apartment. Then we went down to San Diego and shot it with all of our friends and family helping us make the movie there. And that movie ended up going to Sundance. And so it sort of launched like all of our careers. Destin is doing extremely well. Like it really launched his career in a really wonderful way. And it helped me as well. And we went on to make short term. And then again, I was more in the producer role. And I just did a movie recently called Lucky Lou that premiered at the Cannes Film Festival and then just played at Toronto. And so I'm still producing, but then there's also this other side of me that's doing some writing, directing, and acting. But it really, like, to me, like, I think something about Adjunct that I personally really love is just, like, I think Amr and his relationship with his friends and family, and it's really my family that has always sort of believed in me, gotten my back, and it's, like, this really, like, beautiful thing. And I do think it's, like, really beautiful that Uncle Freddy was, like, really one of the first people that believed in me.
Yeah, that is great. There's even a scene in the film where your uncle says that, we allowed you to follow your dream. Yeah.
And Amr's questioning that following of that dream. Yeah. I just want to say, like, yeah, so the character in there, there's a bunch of uncles in there, but there's one specifically, he's Uncle Zaya, and that's actually named after my grandpa. And so that also is, like, that character is an amalgamation of all of my uncles and just sort of different pieces of them and their wisdom and what they tell me and their support of me. So it's just, I don't know, it's just like a very fun thing for me to look at when I watch the movie, of just seeing my family and my friends in the movie in various ways.
Yeah, and although you don't explicitly say that you're Chaldean or that the lead character is Chaldean, it's very evident as you watch the movie, if you're familiar with the culture at all, that is what he is. Yeah. The family business, Sahara, how much pressure is, I mean, I know that pretty much from what I know, every Chaldean American has this pressure of working in the family business or going out on their own, because there's almost always a family business. Can you tell us a little bit about Sahara?
Sure. So, like, so I actually never worked at Sahara. I've worked at my brother's liquor store, and actually a lot of my uncles and friends' liquor store. So I know the liquor store business. And but Sahara was just, I don't know, there was like a visual element to that to me of like of him being there and just being part of that. So it was like also, yeah. So my one of my uncles owns the Sahara in San Diego. So I just wanted to incorporate that aspect to it, and it was something for me of him, where would Amr maybe end up, or where could he go that might be interesting. So it was just sort of me trying to figure all that stuff out.
So some of the characters I'm going to mention, like Leo, is that based on a real person?
So Leo is a character that is like kind of my student, who is like my star student, who I befriend.
Also is in IT.
Also in IT. So it is actually literally based on one of my favorite students, who I am still friends with to this day. And fun story there. So when I was trying to make this feature film, my first feature, he was like in his late 20s and had graduated from me teaching him and from the college we were at, but I was still mentoring him. And he basically sent me a script for his movie. And he was like, "Oh, I want to make this movie." And I said, "Absolutely, you have to make this movie. Be courageous. Don't not do it." And so I was helping him make his movie. And then some of the stuff happened in Adjunct where I didn't get the job, and I was thinking about making my feature. And he said to me, "You have to make your movie. You have to do this." And he actually came on as an executive producer on my movie. I was an executive producer on his movie, and he actually also helped me edit the movie and was in the movie. He played the HR person in the movie who doesn't, if you remember that scene where the guy doesn't give me my health care.
Yes.
So that's my student. And so my point is, like, he in different ways than Leo helped me like make my movie and help me figure things out. So it just goes to show you sometimes like the teacher can become, it's like I'm his mentor, but at the same time he helped me. He's helped me throughout my life. And so I think there's a really wonderful thing with teachers and students that, especially like I think in the college sense of it, where you really form a wonderful bond with each other, and it's really beautiful.
Yes, it is. So talk about healthcare. Your character in this movie has a particular problem, goes to see a doctor. The doctor says, "We can do an operation in something like 6 months," or something like that, wasn't it? It was months off. Is this a statement on healthcare in the United States?
It definitely actually is, in terms of like, I think healthcare is like one of the most like odd things in America. And I think it's something, again, most of my life I'm a filmmaker and I've been freelance and I've been a part-time adjunct, and being a part-time adjunct, they don't give you healthcare. So it's like, as I've grown older, I'm like more and more concerned with healthcare. And so it's like an interesting thing to me of like, wow, I can't believe that this is how this all works. And it's like this messed up, and it's just so messy. And, it's just something to me that, again, like I try my best not to beat anybody over the head with, any one thing that's in the movie. It's more hopefully nuanced and subtle and layered in. Just the fact of like, the fact that he's Middle Eastern. I don't really like try to, overextend the point. To me, it's like I'm just trying to layer in a bunch of different things in the movie and hopefully make something. You said this earlier when we were off air. You were like, "Oh, it's funny."
It is funny.
And so it's like, as I'm talking about this movie, I hope people know. Yeah, it's like it's funny. It's heartfelt. It's it's about family. It has like a lot of different layers to it. So yeah, I think when you make a movie, hopefully you're as a filmmaker, you're trying to say things that are affecting you and you're thinking about out in the world, and you're just sort of like layering it all together in something, and people pick that out. You're like actually the first person that's actually asked me about healthcare.
Really?
Yeah, you're like the first person that's ever mentioned that component of the movie, which
it was really relatable.
Yeah, for sure.
I wanted to ask about some of the characters. Is there a real life Tom who uses phrases like he did in the movie? What did he say?
I will just say it's based on an amalgamation of a bunch of different professors. That there's some good to Tom. Tom's the head professor at the college. It's just like honestly, everyone is sort of an amalgamation slash, different people kind of represent the character, but it's not the full representation of them. It's sort of a fictionalized.
So there's not a real life Chad Hastings, who actually he's like your nemesis, the Amir's nemesis in the movie. He took his job. They brought him in from outside, but it turns out that he really wasn't a bad guy.
I think on that note, that's an important point to me, because the whole thing of, I think the goal for me in making this movie was, I brought up to anybody who's been an adjunct or been in academia knows what an adjunct is, but a lot of people don't know what an adjunct is. So I think I should say it. So an adjunct is a part-time professor. And so you usually don't have healthcare, you usually don't have a pension. It's very, semester to semester, it's very unstable. So that's what an adjunct is. And so you're kind of trying to get this full-time tenure track job where you do have a pension and healthcare and job security. So that's, first of all, what it is. And so really the bad guy to me isn't necessarily the people in it, it's the institution. And the institution has learned, if I just keep everybody part-time, I don't have to pay them anything that's livable, and they just have to figure it out. And so to me, to make Chad the bad guy isn't quite right. And so I think the scene you're talking about too, it's like, me and the actor were talking about that, because the way I wrote it, it's like he leaves the room, but he was like, well, what if I come back and then I say like, oh, I really love your writing, and I'm like, yeah, and then I'll say this, and we just kind of riffed it at the scene, and it really to me added a layer of like showing that he's just up for a job, just like I'm up for a job, and he ended up getting it. He doesn't know the interpolitics of like what happened or why I didn't get the job and he got the job. So I just wanted to make that point, and I was very kind of proud of that sort of like nuanced layering of the characters.
That kind of came to the point when the Amir was invited to be on a panel at the university, and then he found out that while he was doing it for free, this Chad guy was getting a stipend, and that whole thing. And I know that happens. If you're on staff, we can pretty much give you any assignment.
That's an actual true thing that actually happened to me, and that was like, I was just like, wait, what? Like, I'm not. You're not gonna like help. You know what I mean? Like, I'm doing this outside of my work requirements, and they were like, yeah, sorry, and I'm like, oh, okay. And it was, it didn't happen quite that way, but like that's a dramatization of what happened. But like that actually does happen. Again, like, yeah. I wanted to, in the movie, just put a lot of things in there that like helped you see what the, what someone is going through who is an adjunct?
So I'm going to talk about, I did want to talk about the student expectations in the film. You had a student who invited you to, well, when I say you, I mean Amr, of course, invited you to drinks afterwards. Is that something that students would really, expect a teacher to take them up on?
Not necessarily. I think it's more just like, you are dealing more with adults. And so it's like, I think there's, I do think there's more interaction with like with college people
outside of the classroom.
Yeah, I think so. And it's again, like I think in that instance too, it's like Amr's like, oh, no, I'm good, So, I think that's just sort of that was a very like subtle thing. So yeah.
Oh, about the student who expected Amr to open up his laptop and read the email right then while he was waiting. Is that something that students actually have an expectation of teachers to do?
Yeah.
Did you actually get reported?
Not exactly like that. It's like there's different versions of that. You know what I mean? Like there's different ways that things happen. Like at the end of the semester, students can review you. Like there's different. Every school is a little bit different in what they can and can't do. And so, but there's I get good marks and I get bad marks, and you can't expect to be you shouldn't try to be everyone's friend as a teacher. Like I actually am very stern. Like I was a very stern, tough teacher in my opinion. And I'm sure there were students that did not like me, but I just believed to do my job, be a good teacher, and try to help the students that really wanted the help.
There was a character in the movie, Layla, who was Amr's love interest. And a line that she said, would she say, "You're not like other Middle Eastern men." Do you want to explain that?
Oh, all right. That's a very specific one. Yeah, no, I think the fact that he is, a professor, someone who's like into literature, it's a little bit more, again, like I grew up in the Middle Eastern community, my family all own, convenience stores, gas stations, restaurants. It's like you are being a little bit different, going in this different direction. So I feel like there is something that is different about Amr, in terms of him trying to figure himself out.
So do you feel different?
Do I feel different? You're asking some tougher questions. Yeah, sure. I definitely feel like, I'm going on a bit of a different course than most people in my Chaldean community, and I'm not, and I don't think it's good or bad, by the way. Like I think, actually, it's funny. Like now, as I look back at, I'm a little older. I look back at my life and I sort of, there's parts of me that wonder like, oh, maybe it's literally in the movie. Like Amr's like, you know what I mean? Like the uncle goes, oh, you could have stayed and we could have got you a couple stores and you could have done this and you could have done that, but you chose to go this way. And so I think, there is that reflection and you wonder if you made the right choices. And, I think, you do wonder. And so I'm not going to say I don't think about that. And it's a difficult journey sometimes. And you hope that you make the right choices. And some are great and some are not so great. And that's just the reality.
What do you have in the works? What's coming up next?
So I just finished this movie, Lucky Lou. So that's like kind of what we're focused on is me as a producer. As a producer, I make, I'm developing multiple movies. So I'm trying to get more movies going. For myself, like as a writer director, I have a few ideas, but I'm sort of in the early phases of trying to write something. And that would just kind of happen when, once I feel that I have something ready to go. But there's nothing on deck just yet, but I have a bunch of like kind of ideas that have been percolating and sort of like I want to explore. I
have a follow-up, just going back to an earlier question. Do you have healthcare now?
I do have healthcare now. I have a full-time job now, actually.
That's
so
good.
Yeah, I'm an executive at a production company for film. So I do have like actual, it's kind of, okay, let me just say this. It's interesting, like, most of my life I've been like freelance and part-time and, trying to make this, and then like when I got this job and it's like I have actually like a salary and a paycheck comes in every couple of weeks. I mean, I'm like, oh man, this is really nice. So there is something interesting about that component. But then on the flip side, I sometimes look at, again, like like most of the Chaldean community that I love. It's like a lot of them are business owners, and there's something about their entrepreneurial spirit, which I think I do embody a little in my filmmaking, me trying to make my own movies and stuff like that. But like, there's a part of me that's cool as it is to have a salary and as cool as it is to have that kind of stability. I think there's always been a part of me that really loves the entrepreneurial spirit that a lot of, my fellow Chaldeans
in
have.
your blood, yeah.
I would say it's definitely in my blood, and it's tough because like I think people see in the film industry the people that really make it, and so they assume it's very lucrative in a way, but it's really a very difficult kind of place to navigate more than you would imagine.
Yeah, I imagine that there's a lot of people who are just making a living doing films, not necessarily in the spotlight.
Oh yeah, I would say my point is I think there's a lot of people in the film that don't make a living. It's it's a very, I think working in the arts in general is a very difficult path, maybe more difficult than I personally realized. And it's funny because I say that to some of my students and stuff like that, and they're like, "Wow, you're very anytime I mentor people, I work for different arts organizations, they're like, "You're the most honest person that's talked to us about this. Like, you say it how it is." But that's that's what I believe. Like, I think you have to be very honest and transparent and not sort of sugarcoat different things. And I think, I almost wonder, why don't more people do that? It's almost like they don't want to reveal certain things about themselves, about their own job. And I think as a filmmaker, it's the more you're willing to reveal yourself, the more you're willing to show that. I feel like when people watch your movies, they can feel it. And so I hope personally, if people watch the movie Adjunct, or if they watch I'm Not a Hipster, Short Term, either whatever the movies are that I've made, I've always pushed that forward in terms of just trying to be really honest, transparent, also entertaining, also fun. Hopefully, people realize, I actually love to make people laugh, and I love to entertain people. It's I don't want the movie to be boring. I'm trying very hard to sort of package it together in a way where it's entertaining, but there's something you're getting sort of in the layers.
Well, I think Adjunct absolutely did do that. It was funny, like I said, but subtle humor, very realistic, very relatable, I think, to probably most audiences. And if you want to get to know Ron Najor, then watch the movie Adjunct.
Yeah. Can I give it a plug?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's on Apple, it's on Google Play, it's on Amazon, so you can rent or buy it. Check it out. I hope you do. I'm very proud of the movie. It's called Adjunct. One of my uncles always says it's very hard to pronounce. So,
which uncle is that?
My uncle Eddie, but he loves me.
Fred. So you're the man behind Uncle Freddy Productions.
Yeah.
How proud are you?
Oh, I'm extremely, extremely proud of Ron. He's gone a long, long way, and it's been a long struggle, and I always knew he could do well in in the movie industry, and he's got tremendous ideas. He's pretty clever. He makes PG movies. He doesn't make movies with killing 50,000 people or, these crazy movies. They're movies about real life, real people, and they tell a story. A lot of movies today, they don't tell a story. And all his movies that tell a story, which is, to me, one of the elements of seeing a movie or watching a story, anything. You want to get a benefit out of it or a laugh out of it and enjoy it. And I think that's what Ron achieved. And he's doing a great job. He's got a lot of ideas, and I'm kind of looking forward to all the new ideas that are going to come out in the future. So we're just hoping for the best for him.
I have to say that I think I've talked Ron into doing a screening of Adjunct at some time in the future too here at CCF West. So that'd be pretty amazing.
Oh yeah, we'd be happy to do it.
Okay. Well, is there anything that you want the community here to know about you?
I feel like you covered it really well. Like you actually asked me questions where I was like, oh, well, okay. No, I mean, I think that's pretty much it. I think, I I think it's always, really wonderful to hear about different people's journeys and hearing about their stories. And yeah, I think that I hope this film kind of explores that, and I hope I have many more films that go and show different sides of myself and different things. But it took me a lot to make this movie. I'm actually in terms of I started producing 15, 20 years ago, as you said, but it took a lot for me to get the courage to direct my first movie and actually to star in my first movie. This is the first time that I did the lead role, and I hope I did a good job. So it was me really taking some pretty big swings for myself. And I feel sometimes when you take those big swings, it actually can pay off the best. And I wish I would have done this sooner is probably something that I wish I could tell my younger self. So for your listeners, take some swings and believe in yourself, and hopefully you have a great family like I have.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you both for being here. If you enjoyed this episode, send it to someone you love, subscribe to the podcast, and if you choose, leave a review. We're listening.